We're live, guys. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. And look, oh, Melissa, you're dancing. That's so cute. I want to dance with you too. How do I? Hey.
Look how you're serious, I guess.
Well, I know. We're serious. You want serious?
I need to prop up my thing more. Hold on.
All right, girl.
Let me prop up my computer. Sorry, guys.
Put up. It's okay.
Woo. There we go. Yeah, I feel better like this.
Feel better? All right. Your lighting's good. I think my lighting's good too. Guys, thank you for joining us. We are ATX Homegirls, a diverse group of local realtors bringing you valuable real estate content in our live streams. Again, guys, it's every other Wednesday at 7 p.m. Thank you for tuning. And today we're going to discuss when will it sell, pretty much what sellers are struggling with, what hope is there for them, and talking about the real estate market on the seller side.
So, is there a light at the end of the tunnel?
I know. Is there a light at the end of the tunnel? Is it doom and gloom? But before we get to that, Melissa, go ahead and introduce yourself so the audience knows.
Well, if you're just coming, if you're brand new, thank you for joining us. If you are an avid watcher of our YouTube live, thanks.
Like your glasses too.
I know. And I also bought some new ones. I don't know. Are they here? No. Oh, darn it. Next time. I got some new ones for the live. I was hoping to have them on, see if y'all like them. But anyway, I'm just a hot mess. I guess I put them away. Wait, let me check here. Okay, no. Anyway, so you guys, thanks for joining us. I'm Melissa Galvan Hudson. I always put my maiden name in there in case that's who you know me by. I'm from Austin, Texas, born and raised, 78741. I'm a residential real estate expert in the greater Austin area. And I've been doing this for about 10 years or so. I love helping people. I love doing this live so we can, help inform people of things that are going on in the Austin market, changes, hype, not the hype. I have 2 kids. I have a granddaughter. I just celebrated my 48th birthday yesterday.
I know. I saw your pictures on Facebook that you guys had a family gathering. That was nice.
My mom made chicken enchiladas.
Yes,
so, it was so good. But yeah. So thanks for joining in, guys. We love having you all here. And hopefully you guys will continue to come back to join us and chat with us.
Exactly. Thank you, Melissa. We keep it real, guys. So I'm Liza Brazzil. Been licensed for about 10 years, or has it been 10 years? I can't keep track of time now. It's been 10 years, right? 10 years, primarily in the residential sector for real estate. I have an 11-year-old son. I live here in Austin. I'm also a native Austinite, born and raised in Montopolis. So I'm sure a lot of you guys know where East Austin is at, Montopolis area specifically, but Melissa is also from Montopolis. So we were just maybe some time apart, and then it's a small world, and we got to know each other in the real estate world. So really nice that we have someone else here that's from Montopolis that we get to collaborate with. So, but other than that,
how old I am?
No. I wasn't talking about.
I know, I'm teasing you.
Oh my God. But yes, guys. So thank you for tuning in. We are going to be talking primarily about sellers. And quickly, I don't want to spend too much time on this part, but we quickly want to talk about the market stats. The August market stats are not out yet. They should be out. What do you think, Melissa? In a couple of days, maybe in a few days from A4 for the greater Austin metro area. But we do have the July stats just so we can recap on what's going on in the market and you guys can understand what's happening here. So let me bring this up real quick. So for July, the statistics for the Austin Round Rock MSA, we had the median sales price for $515,000. The days on market did go up. The average days on market went up 10 days to 22 days. And our total sales and dollar volume went down 21%. And then our months of inventory increased 1.8 months. So as of July, we were up 2.7 months of inventory with a median sales price of $515,000. I don't know, Melissa, if you pulled up the current market stats, but I have it here for the last 7 days.
Who did you include in the stats?
In the stats, I went out from Central Austin 30 miles out. So it includes Liberty Hill, Georgetown, Round Rock, Lockhart, even west of that as well. So I don't know if you want me to, and it's only for this past 7 days.
Did you do Cedar Park, Leander?
Yep. Cedar Park, Leander, Liberty Hill, Georgetown, Pflugerville, Round Rock, Austin, Manor, Elgin, Lockhart. I'm sorry?
Kyle Buda.
Yep, Kyle and Buda, Dripping Springs, Westlake, Lake Travis area. Even I think it might even have
Cedar Creek, Del Valley.
let me see what other area it had. Yeah, it has Del Valley. It even has Spicewood in there. Dripping Springs, Spicewood. It has the tip of San Marcos, and it goes all the way out east to Bastrop, and as far west as Spicewood, as far north as Liberty Hill and Georgetown, and again the tip of San Marcos. So I don't know. I think that's a pretty good.
It is pretty good. I didn't go that far. I have Austin, Buda, Cedar Creek, Cedar Park, Del Valley, Dripping Springs, Elgin. Georgetown didn't get in there. So there's Georgetown, Hutto, Kyle, Leander, Liberty Hill, Manor, Pflugerville, Round Rock.
Well, how about we do this? You do just Austin.
Okay.
So people can see, the comparison on a wider, what do you call it, mile radius coverage, and then versus Austin.
What do you have?
So do you want me to go first on the
bigger?
The bigger?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me go back right here. So the market watch, again, guys, this is for the past 7 days. And it's just crazy to me because the new active listings in the past 7 days is 876. Again, this is a 30-mile radius from Central Austin. We have roughly over 1,800 homes that have had a price decrease in the past 7 days. And only a small portion, 65 homes, have had a price increase. As far as back on the market, we've had 199 homes go back on the market. And then it's weird how we have it here in our MLS. We have pretty much 2 statuses that are pending status. We have an active under contract status, which is at 407, and then pending at 399 homes. In the past 7 days, 615 homes have closed. And then we have much smaller numbers. We have with the number of withdrawn listings is 222. 37 have expired, and 130 of the homes are on hold. Again, guys, for the past 7 days. But what's crazy to me is that the biggest ticker on here is the amount of homes that have decreased.
1,800 for the big?
Yeah, 1,869. Yeah.
Okay, so I put that there, and I will show that. Okay, so then let me go with the Austin. So with Austin, this is just metro, right? It means you have an Austin address. Okay. Active listings 283. Price decreases 546. Good news, and this is 7 days, guys. So the good news is 132 homeowners got their property under contract.
Yeah.
It's good news.
Good
So,
news.
I mean, that's great news. If you're one of those people, congratulations. 97 homes went pending. Okay, I can tell you 2 of those MLS. Well, no, those weren't mine. Mine's are outskirts. Gosh darn it.
Dang it.
Okay.
I got it in the stats.
Yeah. Withdrawn. Well, I don't want to talk about the withdrawn, but we can. 84 of them have withdrawn from the market. It's kind of a big number that I'm seeing here for Austin.
Yeah.
Expired 12 and hold status 36. Now, guys, people can do hold status for different reasons. I've had sellers, take a vacation and they just don't want to deal with anything. They just want the ease of enjoying their vacation. So they'll put it on hold. I've had folks that go on the market. They go under contract, inspection's done, and then, something crazy happens that they find an inspection that they say, you know what, let's just go ahead and pull the house off the market, not off all the way, but let's put it on a hold status. Let's address these issues, and then we'll go back on. One of my listings that I have in 78704, we went on a hold status so that we can paint the exterior. And so once that exterior was painted, we went back on the market. So there's different reasons why one would put on a hold status, a withdrawn. I don't ever like to see that. That just means that, you know what, that seller's just said, you know what, let me just wait or change my mind. But you know, I do see that 546 in Austin have incurred a price decrease. I don't like to see that, but in a way I kind of do. And I'll tell you why. It tells me that seller or those 546 sellers in Austin actually are motivated to sell their home enough that they would either price correct. So we don't know how many of those homes are decreasing because they're price correcting, or maybe they
Motivated.
more or totally motivated, right? So we don't know what the motivations are for each of those sellers. But as you can see by the active listings, there's still people putting their homes on the market, 283 people in the last 7 days in Austin. So what do you think about that, Liza?
Exactly. So, I mean, it means that it's not really, from the way I see it and also from personal experience, the sellers that I'm seeing are not scared to still go on the market, right? They are preparing themselves to better position themselves to sell their home, and with the expectation that it may take longer to sell. But that doesn't go for all sellers, right? And I did want to go into that before we get into the details of that, addressing common myths. The perception, again, and we've done many live streams about this because it continues to be an ongoing subject.
Right.
But the perception last year and then the first quarter of this year was that my house will sell fast. If I put it on the market, it'll sell for top dollar and it'll sell super fast. And the timing has been an issue. So that's for some sellers, they still think that it's going to sell fast, and they think it's a problem if it hasn't sold in the first 7 days or first 2 weeks. They're like, what's going on, right? What's the issue? And the thing is, it's not really that there's not all cases that there's a problem with the house or location, and it may not even be the price at all. It's just the perception out there for buyers, right, Melissa?
Right. It is. So, and what I want to say to that, Liza, is that if you are running your thoughts and your motivations off of what I would call like post-pandemic real estate, I talk about that a lot, guys, because it actually is a real thing. You know, you read the news, you see the news, it's social media hype. Your neighbors, your friends, your coworkers, you know, people at church, they're all selling their houses, and you're like, whoa, you know, like they really got a lot for their home, and they got dang, that realtor put a sign in the yard and they had a contract in 1 day. That's fantastic. That's 2021.
Yeah.
That's January of this year. That's not today, unfortunately. But Liza and I talked a little bit before we went live, and guess what? 20, 30 days in the market is not a bad thing. It is actually, if we take let's just take all of the United States and the average, you're probably looking at about 20-ish days, I would think, of days on the market. And if you're in Austin and your house has been sitting on the market for a little while, it doesn't mean your house won't sell. It just means it's just going to take a little bit longer to sell.
Exactly.
So the perception that we talk about is my house should, if I'm doing everything right, my house should, I get a buyer like day 2. It is not impossible for you to get a buyer day 2, right? There are those homes and there are the exceptions to those strategies. And we're going to go over that. We're going to dive into that a little bit. But if you have in your mind and, you know, taken your realtor's advice and you've done all the right things and your house isn't selling in 2 days, it doesn't mean your home is not sellable.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there, besides the other things that you can do, it's really setting the expectations up front that it more than likely will stay on the market a bit more. And just like you mentioned, Melissa, it's really not, it may not even be that the house isn't sellable. It's just the buyer's perception about this market. They're a little bit standoffish. They're reassessing, right? What's my risk here? Or should I wait?
Right.
Interest rates, man. This is really going to be, you know, people are buying the news right now, right? On the too high of an interest rates. You got to wait till it crashes before you buy to get a better deal. and they're very uncertain on what they need to be doing, right? Especially with such a big investment. So, Melissa, I wanted to talk about what are you seeing sellers are struggling with now?
I think the big one is what we're talking about here is the
Mm-hmm.
perception. And the best thing that I can do for my sellers right now is, and I'm running these numbers really quick, so give me just a second.
Oh,
The best thing we can do is, as realtors for our sellers, is to set that expectation up front, right?
Right.
So right now, and I'm just doing Austin, guys. I'm not doing the cities outside of Austin that Liza was looking at.
My lighting went off. Sorry about that, guys.
Oh, you're a light bulb?
Yeah. I'll have to do this without some lighting. Let's see what's going on here. There it goes.
Okay. I'm going to do something really interesting here to see what these numbers look like. But the best thing I can do is set the expectation up front.
Mm-hmm.
So that way there's no disappointment. If, in fact, are you okay, Liza?
Yeah, I think my lighting is not working. So I may have to do the live stream like this with poor lighting.
And I think it's not bad. Is all your kitchen
it keeps coming in and out. Not sure what it is, but yeah, I think something's up with it. So if you guys can still see me okay, sorry about that. My lighting is really bad.
We can see you fine. So this is for the Austin market, about what the days on market have looked like in the last 30 days. So we're talking about perception. We talk about, okay, my house is on the market. Why is it taking so long to sell? Just see, like, what do I say? Riddle me this. Okay?
Yeah, riddle me this.
Riddle me this. In 30 days, if your home is under contract or pending, I didn't put the closed in this data. This is just your home is actually under contract right now. It took you on average, if you're an Austin address, 42 days to get a contract. Okay, the median 34 days. Then I took that and I chopped that down to 14 days. You're pretty much the same. An average of 40. If you have a contract on your home in the last 14 days, the average in Austin, 42 days and median of 32. Now check this out. 7 days. If your house contracted in the last 7 days, you are at 40 days and 32 days. So,
which is not
terrible, right?
Just I think the issue here is when you go long enough with a year and a few months of houses selling super fast, right? You get used to that. And it's hard to get back to normalcy, right? What normal is. And we're going through an adjustment period is what I like to say. It's still a seller's market, right?
Yeah.
It's not in any way a buyer's market, but it feels like it for most buyers because some buyers are seeing opportunity, right, to buy in this market. And also we're seeing buyers that need to buy in this market as well. They're whatever their situation, everybody's situation is unique, but we're still in a seller's market, and it's just the timing. Which, remember, Melissa, in 2019 and the years before then, it was fine to see. It was normal to see 30 days, sometimes 45 days, even 60 days on the market. That was completely expected. You would see billboards when you're driving down on 35. Sell your home guaranteed in 60 days, right?
Yeah. And I remember being like a new agent, and I remember getting a buyer qualified.
Yeah.
If y'all have joined this live before, you've heard me say things like this. It's just crazy to me because I remember being super excited to get a new buyer qualified, and their interest rate was like, dude, like 6%, 6.25, and I was like, yay! Like they didn't go over 7. I kept them under 7.
Right.
And then I remember shopping and being like, oh my God, they like this house, right? That they saw, and I remember thinking, oh my God, this house has been on the market like 65 days. We can probably negotiate closing costs.
Yes. Right back at that.
So that was kind of my threshold at the 60-day mark. When I saw that a house was on the market for 60 days, I'd be like, dude, like, oh my God, Liza, I can get them some closing costs too. So not only did I qualify them, I got them down payment assistance for some, right? Not all.
Yes, for some, exactly.
And and I can probably get the seller to pay some of their closing costs. And guess what? I did. So
Good.
So anyway, that's what we talk about, the perception of days on market, what we call DOM. So if you're a seller right now and you're new, like maybe you bought your home in those days, right? Maybe you bought your home, I don't know, between 2010 and let's say 2018 or 2019. It's okay.
Yeah.
You'll be okay if you're on the average of 30, between 30 and 40.
You're fine. You're doing just fine. Yeah. Don't
doing
freak out.
okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Like people sometimes are like in the first week of being on the market, they're like, did we have any calls? Did we have any showings? Why isn't anybody calling? Right. And I'm like, it's okay. You know what I mean? It's going to take a little bit more time to get buyers through the door.
Yeah.
There's still exposure. It's funny because I don't know if, who keeps track of how many views your listing has, right? But it's there. You know, it's definitely getting the exposure. People are definitely viewing. They're saving these properties, but they're taking a little bit longer to pull the trigger, right? To make the decision to go out there and get to the door, right? To actually see if they want to offer on the property. They're not quite there yet, and the ones that have probably went through that a few months ago, where they're now ready to pull that trigger, right? Because they probably don't want that they want to just be able to secure something now while the negotiation is there.
One of the things, guys, that we wanted to mention that at the end of the live, we are going to be talking about a couple of top things that you can do to get your home sold quicker in the market. And again, perception of quicker, meaning, you know, what's important, like what's going to get eyes on your house, because it's kind of like the eyes, the foot traffic, the contracts, the negotiations, and it goes in that order. So,
and Melissa, in open houses, have you noticed the amount of open houses? So many open houses, even not only on weekends. I'm seeing a lot more open houses for like realtor tours, broker open houses during the week, open houses almost not for all houses for every weekend, but sometimes even both days.
Yeah.
So that's coming back a lot. And then I think that really helps with getting foot traffic in the door for sellers, right? So you definitely want to consider open houses, right? Just because I think that'll help get more exposures, especially to the buyers that aren't really sure, but they just want to view. And you'd be surprised that some of these buyers may be willing to commit after they step into that door. So I think that's fascinating in my opinion, that's coming back full throttle, I think.
Right. I had my South Austin property tour lined up. My South Austin listing lined up for a property tour. We didn't make it this Wednesday, but hopefully we'll make it Wednesday of next week.
Yeah.
Or the following week. I think it's every 2 weeks. But I had a property that I had listed in Kyle and Buda, actually, on a property tour for Kyle Buda area. And, we actually had to pull that house from the market, but it was really good. It's, by the way, guys, property tours, essentially what they are is a bunch of realtors will get on a bus. If you want your listing on that tour, you have to get on the bus.
Yeah.
So the catch is that you get on the bus.
Talk about the property.
Talk about your property, and then you get feedback sheets of paper that you provide to your seller that'll tell them, this is the feedback from the property. So, and it helps the seller that maybe a little confused on what's the next thing to do, because we can advise, but when it's coming from a group of realtors that really don't have a vested interest in whether your home sells or not personally, they don't have a contract with you, a listing agreement, it allows you to see maybe a different perspective, right?
So, and I'm so glad you mentioned about keyword here, feedback.
Yeah.
Do you remember when that didn't even matter last year? Like, they're like, we don't care about the feedback, right? And now that's all we're getting, right? We're hounding these agents with that toward or anything, right? Give me feedback, or let me get with my colleagues. That has been the most important thing, because we want to be able to accurately make any changes that reflect that feedback, right? Feedback can be anything, right? Oh, it's too expensive, or you need interior paint, or maybe if you did this, it'll help, or if you change the pictures, that'll help. I mean, all of these little things, they may seem small, but these tiny changes can make the biggest impact, right, to that right buyer. And I'm sorry, I'm seeing my screen that's very blurry. You still see me okay, Melissa?
I see you. I mean, you're a little dark. I even thought of like supporting you by turning off this light.
No. Keep on. Keep
So
on.
we can both be in the dark like this.
Oh, you know what? Maybe that. No, that didn't work.
Do you think it's the plug? Like your thing's not plugged in?
Well, that's what it was. It was plugged in and it didn't. It's weird. I turn it on and it turns on. You see that? And then it turns off. It's so weird. I think it might be the thing that I have. I'll leave it on. I'll see what happens, but it's really bright. Moving on. Sorry, guys, about that. Also, the stigma around interest rates. So in our last live stream, we had, which I think was a really good live stream with Jorge. We talked about the interest rates, right? And if it's a good time to buy. In my personal opinion, and again, Melissa and I share the same concept here, that just because we're realtors, it doesn't mean we're going to try to say, oh, buy now. Now's the time to buy. Now's the time to buy. I'm not saying that for that reason. And there goes my lighting again. I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm going to leave it alone. Hopefully you guys can not see
fine
the blurriness, but the stigma here in a lot of the buyers, what they're seeing is they think 6%, 7%, 5.5%, 5.8%, whatever the interest rate may be for them, right? Because it is unique to every particular buyer. They're thinking to themselves, they missed out on the opportunity to buy when the interest rates were low, and now it's too high, right? So that stigma that it's too high is keeping buyers from being able to make that decision, right? To be able to buy a home. So if sellers can understand this as well, right? The perception that buyers have on the market, and if sellers can position themselves accordingly, right, to help that buyer. Again, at the end of the day, the goal is to sell your house. So
right.
Position yourself in a way, right, to help a buyer get in and say, look, man, if I can do this and this for you, what's to stop you from buying this house, right? What are your opinions on this, Melissa?
I always feel like if you're in the market to buy a house, you're pre-qualified. You don't like your interest rate, but you're qualified, and you're a renter, especially if you're a renter. Okay, I'm talking to you guys who are renters. Okay, and you're pre-qualified. Go look at houses. Go look at houses. Okay, I promise you, there are sellers that will make the concessions, and they will give you closing costs. They would much rather do that and lock a good contract in than sit on the market.
Exactly.
Not all sellers.
Not all sellers, yeah.
There's a lot of sellers that will say, you know what, I'm holding steady, I'm holding firm at, I don't know, 400,000. I'm not budging. If a buyer walks in that house and they love it, but they're like, well, my interest rate doesn't look really good, tell your agent to submit an offer and ask for closing costs so that you can use that money to buy point down. So that home looks more attractive to you. Make sure they have a conversation with that listing agent so they know, what agreements can be made. But look at homes and put a contract in. I think you might be really surprised how many sellers will be willing to help a buyer so that they can get their home sold.
Exactly. And then Brian's asking, with the rise of interest rates, are more lenders offering DPA? And they are.
Yes.
They are.
It's actually still a thing, guys. Do you want to know what DPA is?
Go ahead, Melissa. What is DPA for people that don't know out there? For the audience that don't know what DPA stands for?
Down payment assistance. So a lot of these assistance programs, really the only requirement is that you live in the home 2 years, and you don't have to pay it back, but you have to meet the threshold, of ownership before you sell or make it an investment. They really are using these programs and this free money, if you will, to entice buyers that would not normally have that sort of capital sitting in their bank. And by the way, there's also a misconception with down payment assistance. The income limits have risen over the last 2 years, even I think in the last few months.
Yep.
So there is not a penalty if you've done all the things that you need to do and save your money, right? You can still save your money and you can still take advantage of DPA. Just because you have reserve in your bank doesn't mean you won't qualify for DPA. The qualification system is based on your credit score. Okay, that what a normal lender would qualify you for. Your credit score is basically what qualifies you for DPA. Obviously, you have to be a first-time home buyer.
Yeah.
And your credit score, I believe the threshold is 640, but anything above that is going to help you. So
Yeah.
yes, there are still programs out there, DPA.
They're offering DPA. And then what was that other, there was something else that was being offered, new programs that will.
Are you talking about the Bank of America program?
No, it was it's what Edgar has sent out about, not necessarily for well, yeah, buyers and refinances. They can roll in the cost of making a home much more energy efficient. And they're allowing the debt to income ratios to be a bit higher to be able to help with this. So see, the lenders are also seeing the struggles that buyers are going through. So they're offering more incentives.
The good energy mortgage option.
Good energy mortgage option.
Buyers and refinancers can roll in the cost of making the home much more energy efficient, and it will allow the DPIs to be higher. You gonna go look for it?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna turn on my light here. I think that will hopefully help.
You feel like you're in the dark?
Yeah.
Yay! Okay, so there's a new program out. So yes, there's a down payment assistance program. Yes, Edgar, there's that. I mean, Brian, there's that. And a lender we work with, Edgar, with Prime Lending, says that there are buyers and refinancers. So if you're a homeowner, you can refinance and roll the cost into making the home much more energy efficient. So, and they will allow the DTIs to be higher. DTI is your debt to income ratio. Yes. So maybe you incurred some debt as a homeowner. Yeah. Maybe you have to do some improvements and your debt's higher. They'll allow those DTIs to be higher. And so let's talk about what energy efficient would be. So it could be, and I'll ask him, but I'm assuming it could be what would make your home energy efficient. Maybe windows, maybe HVAC systems, screens, insulation, that sort of thing. We can ask him and maybe talk about that again. But I find that very interesting, actually.
And he's also asking, how much can I buy down the interest rate? So with that question, every lender is going to be different, right? There is a maximum that you can do to buy down your points or your interest rate, but it does cost 1 point to reduce every 0.25% that you bring down your interest rate. So for example, this is just an example. You're buying a $300,000 home and your interest rate, you're quoted at 6.25%. It'll cost $3,000, right? 1%, 1 point of the $300,000, it'll cost $3,000 to reduce the 0.25%. So $3,000 to get your interest rate from 6.25 to 6%. Obviously, it'll be more the more you want to buy down that interest rate. But maybe, right, if someone is looking to purchase a home and that is their deal breaker, maybe the seller might be willing, which most sellers are, they might be willing to pay for that. So it's something to think about for buyers.
What if you are a seller and you're like, man, my realtor's going to bring me this bad news about days on market in the neighborhood and, you know, all these reductions happening, and I just really want to keep firm at my price. You know, maybe a buyer goes in and looks at the house and they're like, oh, you know, I'm going to have my realtor send that offer in anyway.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a seller, those are some things you want to think about. And for a buyer, what 10K would offer them is an opportunity to buy your house, really, right? Because they're going to get a lower interest rate. So then they can go ahead and buy the house at the price you want.
And, you know? And here's the thing for sellers. I mean, you know, I always tell my sellers that it's good if you get some verbal feedback, verbal offers, right? It's good to see what people are willing to pay. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you as a seller, that you're obligated to take that offer, to work with that offer. You can say no, you can counter it, or you can just hold off, right? Or decide to accept it if it's something that works for you. But it's good to see this coming in so you can also understand how buyers are reacting to what you have for sale right now on the market. So I think that's good. I relay all information over just so they can get an understanding of what the perception is out there.
Yeah, good or bad.
Good and yeah,
or bad.
we have to do it good and bad, right? Not just
Right.
it's not all going to be sweet and sugar coated. Hopefully, for most sellers out there, that hopefully they're not getting news out there that's just sugar coated. But good and bad, you need to know all of that so you have a better understanding of what's happening, right? And so you can kind of reset your expectations. All right, maybe this is going to take a bit longer. Or I may not get everything I wanted, or I may have to give away a little bit of my nuggets out there to make it work, to make a deal work, right? That's the ultimate goal. So, right?
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. So I guess even though we're, start focusing this live around sellers and the things you can do. So if you're just tuning in, we're really opening this live up to provide tips as real estate experts on what sellers can do to get their house sold quicker or just get it sold, right?
Right.
While also talking about what the perception is with days on market and why it just feels kind of cringy and uncomfortable when your neighbor sold in 2 days for like 10, 15, 20, 50K over asking. Okay. A lot of it, guys, has to do with post-pandemic real estate. I say it all the time, and I know it's probably annoying, but it's just not the same. Okay. What we just went through in 2021 it was never going to be sustainable, right? Maybe that's why we're in the predicament we are now, because people were buying homes at 3 1/4.
It's pretty much cheap to buy, and that's what happened, right? It's crazy. It was like a culmination of interest rates, Austin being hot, right? Greater Austin area, the mass moves of all the companies moving their headquarters here. It was just a combination of a lot of things that caused everything to happen, plus the pandemic and whatnot. But yeah, it's it was a perfect storm, but not a perfect storm. It was just a crazy thing that happened. But what we can discuss now is how to better prepare a seller. And I don't know, Melissa, if you wanted to go into, actually, did you want to go into first reasons why? Just to recap, reasons why your house may not be selling? Do we want to jump into that?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Anybody? No.
Because that's a perfect segue on what to do to help you sell your house. Another little nugget. So we always talk about that. Okay, if you're a seller out there, if you're a homeowner, and one day you will sell the house you're in. I used to say, hey, look, let's just get you in this conversations I would have with my buyers like at 2011. Hey, look, let's just get you in this house. You don't have to love it, but you have to like it.
Yeah.
You have to like it. It has to meet maybe 3 out of the 5 things that you need, right? So if you need 3 bedrooms, you're not buying a 2-bedroom condo, right? If you need a backyard, you're not buying a condo.
Right.
But if you found a house that's 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and it's like 300 square foot less than you want it, but guess what? It's still 3.2, and you're going to build equity, right? So these are conversations I used to have with my clients. And then I used to always say the same thing. One day you're going to sell this house, and all the things that you are thinking about how to improve my house, the things to make it look good. These are things that the buyer's going to be looking for later, right? So put yourself in that mindset. One day you're going to sell this house you're in, right? So let's talk about things that help you sell your house. But before then, we'll talk about things that are hurting sellers right now.
Yeah.
The very first one is the one we've been talking about this whole time, is the perception of days on the market. So we know that across the board. We know the post-pandemic perception or pie in the sky price. And we always talk about the 3 things. 3 things that are really detrimental to the sale of your home. There's some things that you cannot avoid because it's just the luck of the draw, would be location, right? Price and condition.
Yes.
So maybe you have a location that's not favorable. Maybe you're next to, I don't know, a railroad track. Some people are.
Yeah.
That could be a deal breaker for a lot of people. It doesn't mean your home can't sell. So what is the number one reason people sell? I mean, not sell, Liza.
What is the
number one reason people don't sell or can't sell or
can't
sell
sell?
on the market?
Price. Yeah. Price is going to be probably one of the biggest motivators on both ends, right? I mean, the sellers want their price, and buyers probably don't want to pay it, and it depends on the timing and market. But
price, condition, and location.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you are sitting on the market or you one day want to put your house on the market, you have a very narrow window in which if you miss the mark, you miss the mark. And that's going to be in price. Your opening price is so important. It's so important.
Definitely.
What about you, Liza? What say you?
Besides the pricing, the location, and condition, I have to agree. I'm going to have to agree with all of them and restate that again, along with the perception. I think I want to add that fourth one because the top three you just mentioned, Melissa, they have been the three rules or the three reasons, right? To always what we tell sellers when it comes to selling a property. But I do want to add a fourth one, which is perception. Perception is so important. If you can put yourself, if you're a seller, and if you can put yourself in the buyer's shoes, right? What they're currently going through, walking through that, right? What is that perception? And centering yourself around that, right? Because it also depends on what your needs are, right? You may be under contract now to purchase a new house, which is some of the case with some of my clients, right? They're under contract on a new build that they've been under contract for almost a year, and they have a house that they need to sell. So you may be in that position as well. So timing is crucial. You don't want to list too late, right? Because as we've seen, homes are staying on the market a bit longer. So you want to give yourself that time to be able to list the house accordingly. You want to ask that buyer if you need a lease back, or you can foresee that you may need a lease back if it sells fast. That's good, right? It's a good problem to have if it sells really fast. Then you might not want to put some verbiage in there to get a lease back to allow you the time to move into your new house, right? As a seller. So timing is crucial. It's important. Also, just as Melissa mentioned, your opening price. You want to look at stats. You want to look not in general, not what's happened. If you live in Kyle or if you live in Buda or in Austin, you don't want to look in general what's happened in Austin. You want to be able to get very specific to your neighborhood, right? Because you could be competing with other new builds. You could be. You want to look at what's been on the market, what's still on the market, who you're competing against, and price accordingly based on what has happened recently. You don't want to go too far back. You don't want to go into, I know 6 months is a general rule, but I've been tweaking that so we have more relevant data.
Like literally 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, what's happened in the last 4 weeks? And crazy, like for you sellers out there, if your agent is looking at active homes to give you comps, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing because they may not be giving you the price per square footage of the sold, but they're at least giving you what is the expectation now. And looking at the active homes and how long they've been on the market is a really good indicator of where you should position yourself.
Yes.
As a seller.
That is crucial to know data. I mean, if I know it's a lot of information, but having a good conversation about what's happening, what you can possibly expect based on what has happened recently can set you up, hopefully, to sell your property when it needs to sell.
Right. And also, sometimes I'll see, it just is, it's frustrating to me when I see this happen. If you're a seller, just expect more. Expect more and set the bar higher. And if your agent isn't willing to do that, have a conversation with them and show them what you like. If you see your house presented in a way and you're like, oh, look at the way this looks. 2 things: have a conversation with your agent, but also have a conversation with yourself. Okay. If you're looking at these homes online and you see that they're presented so well and they're in your neighborhood, right? Or they're in like within a short distance of your neighborhood or in the neighboring neighborhood, and you're like, man, that looks great. You don't have to have the fanciest furniture. No. You don't have to have the most newest, modern home. What you should have is like an expectation that you are apples and apples and not apples and oranges when you're looking at the other homes for sale in the market in your neighborhood. So the worst thing you can do is just, not care how it's presented. And I do see homes sitting on the market and I will tour them and I'll think this home should be able to sell.
Yeah.
It's a nice house, they just need to do a few things. I had the lot and the house with the lot next door, and it had a tenant in it. And this is a listing, you guys, that I had recently, and it had a tenant in there. and she had a lot of things. And the house is being sold because my client's father had passed away some time ago. They had been renting it, and they're finally through probate, and they need to sell the house. And I go and I look at it, and I'm like, what is all this stuff here? Like, you're talking about like decades worth of stuff,
Right.
10, 20, 30 years worth of stuff, a workshop full of stuff, a house full of stuff. And I'm like, I can't sell your house like this. You know, you got to get the tenant out, one, and you got to get the stuff out. It took 3 trucks.
Wow.
That house could have easily been put on the market as an as is. But like I told my seller, I said, it's less about, hey, you know, I'll sell this house and I'll get rid of the stuff. It's more about the presentation, how you present that home. I had aerial photos done of the home. You know, my marketing strategy was to get them there and let them look in the house. I could have had pictures done of the inside of the house, but we had the house cleared. You know, it wasn't new and modern, but the home was cleared. The lot is cleared. 3 dump trucks later. So sometimes your house sits on the market because of that. So that's another don't. It's another don't. You know?
Right. And you know what? Thank you for mentioning that, Melissa, because and there's nothing wrong with doing that, but if you really want to position yourself better, it's better to make it walkable, because when you don't and it's cluttered, you're gonna attract a different buyer pool that you don't want to attract. And what I mean by that, I'm not talking bad about wholesalers or these investors that want to lowball, because those are the type of buyers you're going to attract. And you, as a seller, you want to be able to
cast a wider net of buyers.
Yeah, present it in a way that people see potential, right? They see the potential. They see that it's worth the price you're asking for. So you can essentially, hopefully, get top dollar for your home. That's always the goal for a seller, right? To get the maximum amount of money for them.
And you don't want a 10K reduction in sales price because an investor goes in there and says, I'm going to have to spend $1,200 on a dump truck. Well, then just reduce it by $1,200, because you know how much those trucks cost and haul off. Well, you know, you don't want to make, and that's a thing, right? And that's what I told my seller. I was like, they're going to knock you down, like literally like $3,000 to $5,000, sometimes 10 for a dump truck. That's going to be like $1,500.
Exactly. And I'm glad you mentioned that. It's about sitting and having that conversation. Sometimes it can be uncomfortable, but it's a necessary conversation that needs to be had, because if you understand the numbers, right? And just like you said, a buyer will just discount this 10K that they couldn't walk through the property, and because all they saw was clutter and how much it was going to cost them. And they justified it by reducing the price versus, well, how much would it cost to get that done before you put it on the market?
Yeah.
$400. I think that's a no-brainer, and it definitely gives you as a seller a better chance to get it sold. And it did, right, Melissa? There you go.
We have 4 contracts.
Yeah. You see?
We sold it for over ask.
And that's what happens.
And I couldn't believe it. I was like, I need
like,
10 more of these.
Hallelujah. Here you see? No. Which leads me to let's provide sellers some tips. I know
I would love that.
You know, we're kind of been doing that, but maybe hone in on those tips for sellers.
Yeah. I'll let you go with one and I'll do another one.
Okay. Exposure. That I believe more than ever, you want to have maximum exposure for your house. Believe it or not, some houses out there that are for sale have crappy pictures, and it's okay, because that's not you. You're going to have better pictures. You're going to have better pictures, more exposure, more buyers viewing your property online, right? Because they're all syndicated through these third party platforms, that it will gain you that exposure to have everybody out there that could be a potential buyer view your house. That's what you want. You want as many viewers as you possibly can, because the more numbers you have on the exposure side, the more people that will probably walk through that door. So that's my one tip: exposure.
I want to kind of elaborate on what Liza said.
Go ahead.
So if you're just tuning in, we're doing how long will it take to sell? But before we leave, we want to give you seller or future seller tips on what's going to help you get your home sold. Liza talks about exposure. I'm going to take it in another layer.
Yes.
Your realtor should be doing what we call media package.
Yes.
Okay. A media package is going to include, and it starts from the beginning, right? this is a two-part. The media package should include professional HD edited photography. The difference between professional HD edited photography is very visible online. If you're on Zillow right now and looking, maybe tonight for fun, you do it.
Oh, and you know who doesn't, right?
You do it easily, or any platform, realtor.com, Zillow, whatever. You can easily differentiate the ones that are doing HD edited photography. It really does matter, and it really does help. Okay. With that, a media package should come some sort of either drone footage or with the aerial, or a walkthrough video of the home. And if it's not doing a physical walkthrough video of the home, then they will do a slideshow. So you should have a slideshow, walkthrough video, one or the two or both. And the bonus would be that aerial drone footage of full exposure on what it takes to sell your home. So this would include, if you live in a neighborhood that has an amenity center, you want to have all those things pieced together. Some agents go one step further and offer what they call Matterport, and that's like a 3D visual where you can look through the top and kind of see the dimensions of the rooms. So that is what we call media package. And the cherry on the top would be that your house would have its own website with all the property information, video tours, Matterport, and everything. So exposure is everything. And if a buyer is looking at your house online, I think it's something like 5 to 7 seconds and 3 photos.
Yep.
So if your first 3 photos are a caca sandwich, then they're not going to go any further. Right, Liza?
Oh my God.
Well, I don't know. Can I say shit sandwich on YouTube? Yeah. If it's a shit sandwich, they're not going to look at your house. Okay? Let's be real.
Oh my God. I can't tell. I just want to share a quick story on that. So we got I helped a buyer. I don't remember what year it was, but we were able to negotiate on the price in a very popular area because it had crappy photos. It didn't have enough buyers. And my buyer, I remember, they were like, I want to see this. I mean, it doesn't look good, but it kind of fits what we're looking for, right? Like the bedroom square footage. And I'm like, yeah, man, let's go take a look. Anyways, they loved it. We walked through the door, they loved it. They're like, wow, those pictures are so bad. It didn't do the house any justice. But at the same time, I'm thankful that the pictures are bad because someone else would have snatched it, right? Yeah. So think in that perspective, you're missing your real pictures are so important. How the house is presented is so important because that's going to help get buyers in through the door. So I'm glad you mentioned about the social media package, Melissa, because even then on social media,
right,
people are advertised not just on the third-party platforms. That's not where people are looking at homes only. They're also looking at homes on social media,
right,
media platforms. So it's important to have your house everywhere, right?
One of the things that I do is I talk about that media package because those are the things that I do. And on top of that, any of my sellers know that they get paid Facebook advertising, and I have a way for them to be able to track how many views they're getting, how many clicks, how many likes, and how many leads. Yes. So it's a full accountability on both sides for me as a listing agent. And I know I'm probably giving tips away to other realtors, and that's great. Take them. If you're a realtor and you're watching this, you should be doing all these things, okay? So these social media advertising, the method I use is that it will email and text my clients every time someone's clicking on their ad.
That's awesome.
And it costs me money for these things. So these are upfront costs that realtors take on. So exposure is everything. So when I said the 2 layers that I'd go into, the second one is going to be the preparation before the presentation. So it's first preparation, then presentation. But that preparation is everything because, hey, look, I can make a house look pretty, but a stager can make it look amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
So I have stager consultations for all my sellers.
Yes.
And it's so much easier for them to give them the bad news because I'm already going to give them the bad news at the meeting if their house is not even ready for the listing. So I'll go in and I'll go through each room and I'm like, okay, that comes out. And I just say it really quick. And if they have a notepad, great. But what I tell them is I'm going to have a stager come in and consult you on the things that you need to do. oh, do I have to pay for that? Okay. Well, there's situations that we will pay, and there's other situations where we'll split.
Yeah.
And there's other situations where that seller needs to take it on full on so they can have skin in the game, so they can be invested in the sale of their home, right?
Exactly.
So the preparation before presentation. So preparation can be a lot of things. This is the way I say it. If you're going to sell your house, you're going to pack anyway. So get your boxes ready, because there's very few sellers that I've encountered where I'm like, your house can be photo today and on the market tomorrow, because that's how great it looks.
Wow.
Very few. Very few. Most everybody will need to do a few things.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a necessary step. So, I mean, if you're already doing that as a seller, if you're doing that step, awesome. You've accomplished tip number 1. And Melissa, do you want to go ahead and maybe share another tip? Tip number 2.
Yeah. So tip number 2 is a little bit out of the box. So if you're thinking about putting your house on the market, I would encourage you. And we're going to give a few tips, but this is one that I thought about as I've had maybe the past month and a half, 2 months. No, we'll say the last 2 months. This is one thing that I've thought about because of the sellers that have had their homes sit on the market a little longer. Now, granted, some sellers are not able to do this because they live out of town.
Right.
But if you're a seller and you live in your home, it's not an investment home, you actually live in your home, I would encourage you to walk and tour the properties of the home in your neighborhood.
Yep.
Okay. Why? You want to see what your competition is.
You have to know
what they're doing right or wrong. Okay. What if there's something that they have that you're like, I didn't think of that. I could do that. So that's another tip that I would give, because it's different to see things online, you know, in your pajamas where you're sipping coffee and being like, my house is prettier than that. My package is better. But seeing it in person really allows you to know your competition. So that would be one of the things that I would suggest to help sellers sell their homes, especially if there's room for improvement, because I feel there always is room for improvement.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I agree with that, Melissa. Walking, that's such a great tip. I think sellers really need to understand in full depth what their competition, not just off of photos. If they walk through it, they can get a better understanding. Wow, this is what they've done, right? And maybe that house hasn't sold, or maybe it's under contract, but it also helps them understand what could potentially happen to them, right, when they get ready to put their home on the market. So that is an awesome tip. And guys, remember, we haven't even mentioned your puppies, they're wanting you, no? But we haven't. Keep in mind, we haven't even the first thing we didn't mention is price. We didn't even talk about that. Y'all know.
Because it's a big one. It's an obvious one.
An obvious one. Y'all know.
If you're a seller and you're on the market and your house hasn't sold, guess what, Captain Obvious? You're not priced to sell.
Yeah.
You're not priced to sell. If you one day going to put your house on the market, I guarantee you, your price, it's everything.
Yes.
Pricing. We talked about this in the past. What is value? People are, if you have heard it once, you've heard it again. People will pay for what's valuable to them.
Yeah.
They will pay for what they want. And if your house presents beautifully and you know it, but your neighbor who has the same square footage as you is priced 20, 30K below you.
Yeah.
But you're stuck and you're like, I know my house is worth this much because it's beautiful and it looks better than theirs. I have some sad news for you. Your price will affect you, you know? So, you know, we can talk about price, but maybe that other segue we go into of what's going to help you sell your home as a strategy, right, Liza?
Exactly. Strategy is important. The other thing I wanted to, and it may be obvious and may not be obvious, is availability, making the house available for buyers to view. I've seen that be a problem where some sellers, they're like, well, I can't right now, or can you only do it to where they view it after 5 p.m. or weird times sometimes. If you can make the house, the more accessible you can make it to other potential buyers where the realtors can take them into view, I'm telling you that what you want, your goal is to have a lot of foot traffic. right? And if that's not feasible for you, like we mentioned before, have open houses where you are going to be out of the house for a specific big chunk of time frame to where you get the most buyers in there, because the goal is to sell. And a lot of people aren't really buying sight unseen. They're wanting to walk through the door to see the property, to see if it's something that they even want to offer on, right? Because homes are staying on the market longer. They see more options, right? So you're having a lot more competition. So you want to be able to get them through the door. So that would be the other tip on my end, because I think that's so important to make it available to other buyers to view, and not restricted during certain time frames. But there's a strategy,
also,
right?
Along with what you said, you guys, we're in a technology-driven world. Remember, there's a lot of investors that bought in this area, and they've never stepped foot in the house that they bought. So just know that there's agents that don't have traditional 8 to 5 hours where, their workday starts at 7, but they're out doing property tours for their sellers via FaceTime or video, literally like at 11 o'clock. So if you work from home, just know that there's an agent that needs to get in, or if you're home and let's say you do work 8 to 5 out of the house, you'd be surprised. Someone's going to go look at your house at 10 o'clock in the morning, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. If you just say, just go between 8 and 5, it'll help you. That accessibility should help you. And there's also a reason you see houses listed on a Thursday, right? See houses listed on a Thursday because agents want the properties to be syndicated on the third-party apps and websites by Friday, which nowadays they syndicate pretty fast, but there's some that take a while to auto. And then it gives them time to have an open house, hype. And that way, you can have your house listed on a Thursday and open house on the weekend. And what I usually tell my sellers is opening weekend, can you just go out of town? No, I seriously, I'm like, go out of town. I need you to be gone. I'm going to say, houses on the market Thursday night, Friday from 3 o'clock till Sunday at 6 o'clock, just go. Just go. And then there'll be someone to hold an open house that weekend. So you have like 3 to 4 days of like, anybody can go in, anybody can tour. There'll be an open house. It'll help.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Like you mentioned, Melissa, it builds up the hype for that property. And it's all worked into a strategy, right? You want to build up the hype, get the sellers, right? Go on mini vacation or out of town or to a movie or something to make it available and accessible to other buyers. So you want that hype, get that maximum exposure, visibility, and then foot traffic into the door. And all of these numbers are important because what it ultimately results in is offers. And when you get offers, then you have a little bit of leverage to make a decision on which offer you want to work with or none, right? You don't have to, again, like we mentioned earlier, not obligated to work with any offer. But if you have a really good offer, it's definitely something to consider and something to actually be excited about, right? Given with the timing on the market. So with all of that said, I mean, what we mentioned earlier in the beginning of our live stream, we're seeing that the average days on market, again, in the Austin metro area is at 22 days. So again, it is very specific depending on the neighborhood, the competition. It can go up, it can be less, or it can be a little bit more. But in general, Austin, Round Rock metro area, we are seeing 22 days market.
So that strategy, the preparation, your exposure via your media package and other ways of exposure, or accessibility and 5 expectations. You have to have realistic expectations. And when you do meet with your real estate agent, hopefully you guys can go over what that strategy looks like, because if you guys have a difference, if you're a good fit, however, you have a difference in opinion on what the opening price should be. I would say for the most part, most agents are going to err on the side of listing at market or just below market in this market right now. It would have been a different conversation in January. So having that, don't be surprised if your agent says, fine, we'll do it your way for 7 days, and then we're going to do it my way after, right? And they will actually put it in the listing agreement. Sometimes I fail to do that, but I will at least be upfront and say, I don't agree with that price, but we'll go ahead and do it what you want. I don't think that's going to help you. One of the things that hurts you is that strategy. I mean, not the strategy, but that price, that opening price. right? I didn't put that on this here because it belongs in its category in its own price by itself.
Yeah, pricing itself is its own category. So
strategy preparation, you can do strategy, preparation, exposure, accessibility, and have an expectation, but without price, you're just like, what do they say? You're dead in the water. Yeah, it's so true.
But if you guys follow that, you've already set the expectations for yourself,
right?
And it'll sell. And like we mentioned earlier, it's not that it's not sellable. It's just you got to understand what's happening in the market. Once you have that understanding, once you have the data in front of you, and you implement this strategy, it's gonna sell, right?
Yeah,
the timing's gonna be there. You'll be able to sell. You'll be happy with your price, and then you move on to the next chapter of your life.
Right. And a lot of buyers, they just want to make sure the juice is worth the squeeze. Okay. So along with that, I say in your preparation, one of the things that I didn't mention is going to be your mechanics. Any deferred maintenance on your home. Don't make it look pretty and smell pretty, and then you have a jacked up AC. Have a service
filter, yeah.
Change your filters. Do your part, right? Your agent's going to go in and do a lot of stuff, but as a homeowner, these are things you should already be doing, not having deferred maintenance. Or if you're caught with your pants down and you're like, oh, I didn't change my filters for a year and I have pets and kids and a busy house, like change your filters. If you have a busy household, that's another tip. And I do want to have an inspector on here maybe in the next few weeks.
Yeah, that'll be a great one. Things to look out for, things people should be doing as sellers.
Changing your filter. I have 3 dogs and a cat. 3 dogs and a cat. I'm prone to allergies, and then I watch my granddaughter during the week sometimes, and so we have to change our filters pretty much every time we don't need to because we buy the more expensive one now. Right. But back then we would change them when we did our monthly mortgage payment. Now we just buy the fancier ones where we can have them like 3 months,
a bit longer. Yeah.
So those are things, have your HVAC service. That should cost you a couple $100. What are other things, Liza? Make sure if you don't have a irrigation system, that you're, watering your grass. Soaker hose your foundation in the hot months.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Changing your light bulbs out.
Cleaning your gutters. If you have gutters, just making sure that's clean. If you have some sort of plants for curb appeal, make sure it's trimmed, like it's not all crazy, because I know an inspector will say it needs to be 2 inches away from the house. So just make sure everything is clean, maintained, it smells good in the house.
Right.
Your toilets are clean.
Trees are trimmed. Don't have branches hanging all up on your roof.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Tree branches.
If you can visually see with the naked eye when you drive up your driveway and you can see there's shingles that are about to fall off, have a roofer out. It is so much cheaper to have a roofer out and tell them, look, I just need you to fix that shingle right there. And then while they're up there, they can assess the roof. Now, of course, roofers are going to want to sell roofs, but if your roof doesn't need to be replaced, an honest roofer, and I can recommend some, will just replace the ones that need to be replaced, put new nail heads in there, seal them. Caulking and sealing your exterior is so important in Texas.
Yes.
So
absolutely. I agree with you. Yeah. And this could probably go on and on and on, but maybe on our next live stream, Melissa, we can get an inspector and talk about that in detail.
Yeah. I've got one in mind.
Awesome. I love it. But I hope you guys found that helpful. These are tips. And again, I want to remind y'all, y'all probably thought, oh, they're going to say pricing. You know what I mean? Pricing is
let me put that.
Pricing is obvious, but we brought you other things. All right. We brought you all the cool tips.
That's the obvious.
I like how you say Captain Obvious. Price, yeah.
I don't like the way I did that.
From that. Yeah.
Captain Obvious.
Captain Obvious, yeah. Or Avi. Captain Avi. The other tips, that will definitely help. And especially if you can beat out your competition by having more visibility, that's going to help. It's going to be a numbers game from here on out, just because of the buyer perception. So definitely, if you can implement that, crack it, see how it goes for you. Let us know. You can reach out to us and tell us, hey man, those tips really helped out. You probably didn't know. We operate under the assumption that people don't know these things. If you already know this, great. You probably sold your house doing just that, or you're thinking about doing it and you have an awesome realtor that you're working with, and great. But you'd be surprised. There's people out there that don't know this, and it would be very helpful for them, especially in this market.
I would be very concerned if your real estate agent went with their iPhone and took photos of your house.
Oh my God, I see that happen, and that drives me crazy. Even on higher price listings, I see that.
That would be a red flag for me.
That's definitely a red flag. You want to ask your realtor, do you take pictures with your phone, or is this a professional? You want a professional photographer out there.
We're going to say, Melissa Hudson told us about a marketing package. Do you have a marketing package?
Yeah, exactly. Ask about their marketing package. You don't want to see, have you ever seen those listing photos where it shows
where they're in the mirror like this?
They're like this in the mirror, and they're trying to hide. Don't be that guy. Yeah, but don't be that person. But yeah, hopefully this helped you guys. And if you want to reach us or contact us,
if you want to be sold,
I don't have the sold, but I have the ATX homegirls right here. And I keep forgetting in the live. We are ATX homegirls, and I keep forgetting to do this. Make sure to like and subscribe to our channel. We do.
Yeah, we really need help in that department.
No, man, we need someone else, or someone to hit me in the head and make sure you asked.
We just like some subscribers, so that would be great.
I know, right? So if you guys could please do us a favor and like and subscribe to our channel. We do go live every other Wednesday at 7 p.m. I think we're going to try to aim to get an inspector out into our next live stream so we can discuss more in detail about what you should look for out in a house, and then what sellers should be doing to take care of the house before they list it. So that'll be definitely
no deferred maintenance.
Yeah, no deferred maintenance. You definitely want it ready to go and move in ready. So hopefully that was helpful to you guys. Thank you for joining us, and we are out.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. I'm gonna end this right